All right, so we are here with Dr. Brad Gorski. That's how you pronounce it, right?
It is.
I'll just make it short because sometimes I mess up people's names. I don't mean to. But me and Doc met a few, maybe a month or so ago now, huh?
Yeah.
Like a month or so ago, down in Long Beach at something called Archangel, and he makes my brain scramble from all the stuff you just know. And we had a conversation where you were talking to me about all like these things going on with the body and how we can honestly take care of ourselves in ways I never even comprehended. So please tell everybody like who you are, how'd you get into what you do, like what's your story, if you more so.
Yeah, no. I got kind of a complicated story, which obviously we talked about. But when I went to and got my residency, and I've always been someone to look for and understand cause, human performance. I've always looked at how do I make myself the best. I was an athlete, and my journey started in chiropractic. And within a year of opening up my practice, all I lived what I thought was a completely perfect lifestyle. Took care of myself. Adjustments, nutrition. I did everything that I thought was right. I still found myself a year into practice. At the age of 27, I had a massive stroke and was actually diagnosed with an autoimmune condition that really no one could explain or understand. And so from there, it put me on my own healing journey of like, hey, how do I get to the cause? How do I fix this? How do I get my life back so this doesn't happen again? Yeah. And from there, really kind of stemmed on, I think, of really everything that I do and talk and preach is a lot of what I learned through the course of 2.5 years of trying to get my life back and reverse my condition. Yeah. So, long story short, that's kind of my story and what I do and what I work on today. It's really, I feel like I'm on the cutting edge of healthcare of really figuring out and identifying and addressing cause, not the system-based approach, but also from a standpoint of vitality and health. I always say, it's like if I could have found my issue 10 years before I had it and fixed it, that's true healthcare. That's true prevention. That's what I really, really teach and preach.
I like it. And you're pretty accomplished and you may be a little bit humble, but can you brag for a moment? Like the countries you've been to, people you've worked with, the Olympic teams, like all the stuff you've done.
Yeah. I was really fortunate. I think that, like I said, I was always really into health, and I had an opportunity to work with the judo and the wrestling team, and I was in London with them as they prepared for the Olympics. And so we've always done that locally, and I think on a big level to really help people, I think, maximize their health and take their health to the next level. I've worked with a lot of people who've had severe disease, we know reverse it. Mm-hmm. But I think that the other thing I think where we can kind of, as different people, entrepreneurs, and depending on what people's goals are, I think the reality is it's like today, healthcare and disease is changing so fast that most people have no idea that disease is developing in their body, and it is because disease is changing so fast. People today will not probably die like our grandparents of heart attacks and cancer. It's like disease is changing so fast. That's what really kind of, I love being on the cutting edge.
Yeah, I like it. And that's kind of where we talked. And that was kind of the big thing because just, you guys know, me and Doc talked for like an hour he just ran me through so many different areas of where like I'll eventually be working with you to get stuff kind of for myself clear and understand like how I could take care of my health, because I want to be around, like we all want to be around as long as humanly possible. And I think with technology now, like you're talking about being like cutting edge, that's possible in good ways. So I've been curious, to be honest, with the title you sent me, the whole 3 things you do that create disease. Like I'm actually curious. So can you go into, the 3 things we do that we don't even realize that create disease?
Yeah. Well, and what I wanted to do too is, as I kind of thought about this topic, I was kind of thinking, okay, where could I kind of provide people with the most amount of value to, and again, it may be kind of basic, but I think sometimes too, look at any great golfer, any great athlete. Like if you don't have the basics, guess what? You can try to go to the advanced level. You ain't going anywhere. Mm-hmm. So, so we talk about, the first thing that I kind of came up, and I guess we can maybe chat about, nutrition, but one of the biggest misconceptions, I think, we talk about things that we do that create disease. We've been taught and convinced and almost, tricked into believing that, really the way that we take care of ourselves and probably the things we should do are maybe opposite. They really are. So the first thing I would say, the number one thing, and I'll ask you first, so we'll have some fun with this. So the number one thing nutritionally that people do to create disease in their body.
You're asking me what's the number one thing?
Yeah, the number one thing. So this is something they lack. So I'm putting you on the spot.
Water?
Water. Okay. Yeah. Possibly. I like that. But no, I would actually say the number one thing that most people lack, as far as, again, things we do that create disease, without a question, has to do with healthy fats. Oh, okay. Without a question. Yeah, without a question. And I think why this becomes really prevalent, I don't want to bore everyone with science, but the reality is that our cells, if we look at your body, every cell of our body is composed of 2 layers of fat.
Yeah.
And what happens is that layer of fat, a lot of times we know that as our cell membranes get affected, a lot of times the damaging of these fats is what literally triggers and turns on genes in our body that actually either create health or can create disease. So yeah, it's probably the number one thing that I see. It's, I work with a lot of high-end people and a lot of people who are also do like yourself. I mean, you take care of yourself. I mean, you're not, just doing anything. But I think also too, it's like when you actually look at, most people really mess this up because let's look at our food pyramid real quick. If you look at the food pyramid, what is the foundation of that pyramid?
The baseline?
Yeah, the base. So like what is like, it's 8 to 12 servings of what's at the very bottom?
I don't even remember. It's so long ago.
I know. Well, this thing needs to be like, blown apart. But no, what it is, it's like, well, we got to have, healthy grains. And that's like
carbohydrates. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you got to have carbohydrates. It's like, not really. Like, so yeah, it's such a crazy, thing. And we look at the very tip of the food pyramid. That's our healthy fats at the very top. And they're like, well, don't eat too many of those because those can create your high cholesterol. And man, it's insane how we're so, I always joke when someone comes into my practice and they're like, well, hey doc, I need a low sodium diet. And I need a low fat diet. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, the 80s called back. It's like, they want the low fat diet back. It's like, performance and prevention, man. It's like, that's the one thing. We got to load our bodies up with these healthy fats. So
what are the healthy fats?
Yeah, perfect. I was just going to address those.
Perfect.
So the healthy fats. So I think one thing we have to look at too, we look at healthy fats. Number one, things like coconut oil, which is actually a medium chain triglyceride, fats that come from things like grass-fed butter. And the reason why that's so unique is actually grass-fed butter actually has some unique characteristics of it that there are certain minerals in there that the only thing that K2 is one, for example. Like a lot of times people take vitamin D for overall health reasons, but when a cow eats grass, K2 is produced, which takes vitamin D in the bone. So that's a deficiency that people have. They can take vitamin D all day long. Most people need to be on some sort of vitamin D supplementation. Vitamin D is actually more of a hormone than it is a vitamin. But so again, things like meats, for example, let's dive into this. Like, so one thing that people mess up about, again, consuming, meats is also too, is when you eat a cow that's actually eating grain compared to grass, it changes all the fats of the body. So, grass-fed products are extremely important. Fresh, wild-caught fish, free-range type, or pasture-raised type chickens, your grass-fed butters, your coconut oils, olive oil. I'll throw this out there. A lot of people don't know this. Guess what? Olive oil is amazing. Just don't cook with it. When you cook with olive oil, it changes the fat.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So, heat changes that fat. So, and the reason I use an example of like grass-fed butters, and we talk about coconut oil, and I talk about things like palm oil, which is very similar to coconut oil. And the reason why is because these are fats that when you consume them, your body, it's very easy for them to break down, and your body can use them immediately for energy. And that's the key. Our bodies either burn sugar or burn fat. I always say you have a choice. The problem is most people have no clue which one they're burning.
This is very true.
Yeah, it's so true. But that's where physiology comes in. So yeah, coconut oil is amazing. It's one of the best things to cook with. I see someone had mentioned grapeseed oil on there. It's not that I'm against grapeseed oil, but grapeseed oil is an omega-6 oil. So let's talk about balance of our body. Most people take like fish oil, for example, because of the omega-3s. Well, a healthy ratio of the body should be about a 2-to-1 to a 4-to-1 ratio, which means for every 4 omega-6 or every 2 omega-6, you should have 1 omega-3. Well, the problem is grapeseed oil is all omega-6, and most people are very inverted, like where they're 50-to-1. The average American has 50 times more omega-6 than omega-3. So it's about balance in the body. So I'm not saying you can't use the grapeseed oil, but again, I think in moderation. I think some of the other fats we want to give you fats that literally your body can use for fuel. And what's unique about this, again, certain fats, the body can use very easily. You don't have to digest them. You don't have to break them down. Yeah. So it's a huge thing.
Gotcha. All right. So then what's number 2 and 3?
Number 2, I want to jump into maybe something that's maybe a little unique, but I want to talk about the effect that stress has on the human body. Okay. Because and the reason I say that is like everyone assumes that stress is something like, well, hey, I have a business, I have family, I have kids, so that's stress. You're right, that is. But there are 3 types of stress. There's really physical stress. Again, the things we kind of do to our body. Then you have emotional, but then also too, when our body's exposed to certain things in our environment, our body can also create toxic stresses where, things come in our body and all our body knows how to process it is stress.
Yeah.
So one thing our bodies are under right now are under a tremendous amount of stress. And again, I'm not talking about just about emotional, but we're also talking about physical and then also chemical stress, which actually kind of gets into my third one a little bit. Is a lot of the common toxins that are hiding in things that we consume in our environment, in our air, that without a question screw up our hormones, destroy the cell, create inflammation. So these are kind of what I call things that are really they're more prevalent today than they were 100 years ago. Because our food supply is changing, our environment's changing. So we have to change our our understanding of hey, what is disease and where the heck do we get this stuff from? It's not, it's always cause and effect. Yeah, I say that, the people that I work with who get these amazing transformations and they change their life and they have these great results. It's because they understand, hey, guess what? We have to think from cause.
Yeah, what happened? So I see where stress comes into that. Am I echoing?
Or is it yours or me?
I think it's me. I don't know why. All right, so is that better? No. So stress is part of it. I know that comes stress coping mechanisms, or there's ways to mitigate stress based on how you live your life, how you see things. I'm assuming, correct? So how do you mitigate stress? How do you remove stress from your life in some ways?
Yeah. Probably one of the easiest ways I'll tell people right here, which is actually kind of unique that maybe people wouldn't associate this with actually getting stress. But, one of the things that we don't do is we don't get back enough in nature, technology, and, we're kind of surrounded, with computers and frequencies. And, honestly, one of the biggest ways I just de-stress is getting outside. It's amazing that, and I run tests on clients to see this, but we can test your stress levels. I mean, in your body, pretty accurately. Mm-hmm. And the problem is most people are under so much stress that when they encounter stress, their body doesn't react. Because they're under stress. Their body has no clue. So I would honestly say, one of the easiest things is, we talk about stress, is number one, fixing cleaning your diet is one of the best ways to kind of clean up stress. The other thing I would suggest is, take your shoes off. It's kind of weird. Put your feet on the darn earth. Because, because one of the things that we do is the more that we're under, stresses, and we're for example, even frequencies of a TV or computer, well, those things come in our bodies, but if we never connect back to the earth, those frequencies don't go through us back to the earth. So getting outside and getting in nature, again, some very basic things. I mean, I could get very advanced into it too, but I think a lot of people, they don't actually look at our ancestors, their feet were on the earth, touching the earth. And what's amazing about that is, guess what? When you put your feet on the earth, it dampens and actually shuts your cortisol or your stress levels down in your body.
Really?
So, yep. So for example, I have a mat. I have a mat on my bed I sleep with that literally is. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah. It's when I sleep at night. I mean, I'm on a grounding mat that's like I'm sleeping on the ground. So that actually dampens your cortisol, which actually should be 0 at night. And guess what? You sleep better. You recover better. You can build muscle better. You burn fat easier. So there's all these kind of positive benefits you can get from just understanding how stress really plays a factor in your health.
How do you tie into exercise? I'm assuming that's going to be part of it as well.
Yeah. And I think too, so, I think there's a difference when we talk about exercise. I think that for a lot of people, what they need to do is more of their lifestyle needs to be, and I always say this, to a lot of my clients, it's, you want to separate exercise from maybe building muscle for a physiological benefit, and then also a lifestyle of movement. Mm-hmm. So, I think separating those is important, and I love that. I exercise physically for different reasons, but also a lot of my lifestyle has to be active. So separating exercise, meaning that there's a place. I'll give you a cool study, and a lot of people don't know this. Mm-hmm. So for example, they do studies of people who, I don't know if you know this, but sitting at a desk is now the new smoking. That people who sit at a desk job all day long. Now imagine this: if you sit at a desk all day long and you do not exercise, or if you sit at a desk all day long and you work out 2 hours a day, your chance of dying and having disease is the exact same.
Interesting.
Whether you exercise or not, just because of the lifestyle of sitting at a desk all day.
Lifestyle.
Yeah. So make exercise a part of your lifestyle. So I think it's kind of a simple thing. And again, we could obviously, we could get in advanced things, which obviously and you've trained at a very high level. But the one thing I would say, just what I really like about exercise, is I like a shock and response system. So I think it's important. I think one of the big mistakes people make exercising, I don't know, maybe you can comment on this, but I feel like a lot of people do too much for too long. I think it's like when you actually get in, and I always say this, it's kind of like if you want your body to respond, you have to shock it and then stop, and then shock it and then stop.
You got to rest hard and train hard. Most people don't understand you have to rest just as hard as you train.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, because if you don't do the resting, guess what? You don't heal, you don't recover, and then next time you go to work out, you're training yourself at 70% of what you should be instead of at 100.
You're actually stressing yourself too. Your body gets more stress. You're adding to that. It's almost counterintuitive.
Yeah, I'll tell you a cool thing physiologically. So like most people, I'll just, and again, I'm not against walking, don't get me wrong on this, but after walking, which is interesting is let's say you walk for an hour, and most people are like, doc, if I walk for an hour, I'm in fat burning mode. Man, my body's burning fat. That is right. The problem is, guess what happens when we actually look at your body the next 23 hours of walking, your body and your cortisol levels and your stress levels tend to be higher. It's physiology. But what's interesting is when you actually exercise at a high intensity and stop and exercise and stop and stop. Once you get done with an hour workout of doing that, the next 23 hours, guess what your body does? Your physiology changes. In the next 23 hours a day, your body actually uses fat as a source of fuel. And your cortisol is actually very low.
I've heard of that, yeah.
Yep. So those are really great things of how you can influence and energize again, your hormones as far as so again, the reason I say that is, sometimes, you can test people to figure out, which type of those exercises is right because, you have different needs than I do. And a lot of times people forget that, it's like, customization. I always say the future of healthcare is in customization and habit transformation. So customized approach.
I like it. All right. So then what's number 3? Numero trace.
Number 3, man, I want to dive into toxicity.
Yep. All right.
And the reason why I want to talk about this, I had a workshop last night, and I do these, locally. Sometimes I speak 3 or 4 times, a month. But one of the big things I like to challenge people on is I like to teach them things that maybe that they don't know, and maybe challenging them on that. But also can maybe showing them maybe the biggest things underneath the sun, or the biggest things underneath the water they don't see, like what sank the Titanic wasn't everything they saw. It was the danger that's beneath the surface.
Yeah.
So, when I talk about toxins, and I think what I want to really jump into is because I think a lot of times people don't know about this. I definitely am against and about avoiding certain types of grain. And I'm going to talk about why that is. So I always say I don't tell them just to avoid grain. I always give them a reason why, right? Helps with compliance. Yeah. So, today, which is interesting is I was actually just before I got on this call. So I had a meeting. I ran downtown and I stopped at this local place and picked up a juice. So I had a green juice, had kale, some ginger. So there was a farm. There was a guy standing at the place I was at. He was actually from a local farm, and he was telling me about how good his products were, and he has free range chickens. And he's like, "Hey doc," he's like, "These are really high end products." And so I asked him. I said, "Well, what do you feed them?" And he's like, "Well, he's like, we have some of the highest quality feed." And I was like, "Okay, well, do you feed your animals genetically modified foods?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, they are genetically modified, but he's like, they're really high quality." So, and the reason I just said is, like, for example, things like corn, things like soy, and things like wheat, that today, all those things are sprayed with a chemical called glyphosate. Now, glyphosate, which is unique, actually desiccates kind of wheat to kind of, protects it from bugs, but also too the glyphosate specifically what it does when you consume glyphosate in the body, it destroys bacteria in the body. Now, just so you know, our bodies are 10 times more bacteria than they are human cells. So what these foods do is they destroy the gut lining of the body, and they create sensitivities, autoimmune responses of the body. So for me, when I talk about toxins, I think that sometimes our food toxicity and things that are in our environment are probably the biggest toxins that we're exposed to. And again, many people, I don't hate wheat for any other reason that, what man has done to wheat and what we've done to change wheat and the kind of crap we've sprayed on it. Man, if you eat that stuff, there's just no possible way that you can get well consuming that. And in fact, do it long enough, you're gonna get sick, and it's gonna could cost you your life, but it's also gonna cost you your relationships. It could probably gonna affect you in your business. Yeah. A lot of the guys I work with, some of the the higher entrepreneurs, I always look at them. I'm like, hey, if I could increase your production or your efficiency by 20%, what would that mean for your bottom line? And for a lot of these guys, they're like, oh my gosh, that would be, that's millions of dollars in my pocket. So sometimes too, it's not about just about sickness and disease. It's like, how do you want to live your life? At what level do you want to live your life? Yeah. So that's why I share that. Glyphosate. I don't know. Have you heard of that before?
I have, because we talked about it.
Okay. Yeah.
First time I heard about it though.
Yeah. So that it's a huge thing that people aren't aware of that. But like for example, all modern wheat today is sprayed with glyphosate. All soy is sprayed with glyphosate. Yeah. All corn is sprayed with glyphosate. So if those things you're consuming or hiding in packages and they're genetically modified, now if they're organic, they probably don't have that glyphosate on it, but
Mm-hmm.
yet it's a hidden source of toxicity that most people don't know even exists.
Yeah.
A lot of us, and it creates a lot of sensitivities. It screws up our hormones. It destroys the gut lining, which has a direct correlation with your brain. So it can affect things like your serotonin, your happiness, your dopamine. So there's all these kind of consequences that happen because of that.
Yeah, I didn't even know you're going on, like completely like oblivious to it all in a sense.
Very true. Yeah.
Crazy.
So,
I'm gonna go trash a lot of the food in my pantry now.
hey, you know what though? You'll be better for it.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I don't put much in there. Actually, I usually eat pretty fresh and pretty healthy food. Not all the time though. I try to be pretty consistent. It's difficult. That's the crazy part. It's difficult. So how do people how would you go about, like, if you were to say, how do you shop? Like, what's your, like, how do you go buy food, prepare food? Like, you keep it to where you can make that a priority? Because for most people, it's difficult to be on top of it all the time. So how do you make it a habit?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is, I think what I've been pretty fortunate to do, don't get me wrong, I didn't develop these habits overnight. I think the key is, and one thing I always say is that, you got to definitely start with where you're at and kind of take baby steps, because any kind of change, again, and I think, one of my big reasons why I avoid these things is, like, when I lost my health, and I really got into understanding why that happened. And, so I think the reason is, I think once you understand a big enough reason why not to consume something, it makes it easier to do. But, I think the first thing I would actually say is, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, not to maybe answer this in the wrong manner, but I think that what people need to search for today is really a customized approach. And what I mean by that is, we're very educated today. There's a lot of great information. There are a lot of people, again, there's a lot of, again, you have your paleo diets, you have all these really great resources out there. I think the one thing that people miss is that today, that people need a customized approach. So, when I talk about making these changes, the first things I would say, number one, I give people, I said, where do you start? Well, start with this. Start with, getting your mindset wrapped around the concept of more of a low carbohydrate diet, getting all your carbohydrates from, raw fruits and vegetables, a moderate amount of protein. People really mess up the protein because, protein is also where most people get most of their toxicity. So not eating clean meat is where a lot of people love going organic with their fruits and their vegetables. Yeah. Well, if you look at an animal, that contains 100 times more toxins than a fruit or vegetable does. Gotcha. So understand where toxicity is coming from. And then the top one is, again, too, get into understanding the concept of, like, that fat needs to be one of the biggest things that actually is in our diet. So low carb, moderate protein, and a high fat diet is what you need to do. And I think also I would say simplify. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is they go, Doc, guess what? I need 5 meals a day to survive. And I'm like, oh my God, that's like the complete. No, you need 2 the right way. So I think one of the things I really preach to people is called diet variation. Mm-hmm. That if you're doing the same thing all the time, you're probably missing the boat. So I would say there's not like one protocol I like to give people. I would say, like, there are 4 things I like to teach a lot of my clients. And it's like those 4 things, once you learn how to apply them to your life, you need to rotate through those, because that's called that variation, which actually that's the key. I always say there's not one, everyone wants one tool or one specific plan that's perfect for everybody. It's not. It's really about, again, understanding variation of the 4 or 5 principles that people need and really kind of working through those.
Gotcha. And these are things you teach your clients, I'm assuming.
Hey, absolutely. I would say, yeah, which is huge. It's, because like, one of the things I'm very big about too is, like, we kind of mentioned with you, it's like, people have different needs too. So one of the things is, again, I think we should look at food as medicine. But with that concept being true, most people, if I ask, somebody, I said, well, hey, let me ask you this. Do you know what you're deficient in? And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, so they don't even know where they lack. So if we're using food as nutrition, well, how can you use food as medicine? How can you use your food as medicine if you don't even know what your body's lacking? Or, for example, we had mentioned this too, like, so many people eat enough of the right food, but they don't just absorb it. So they have issues with their digestive system. So, and I always say this, you better be investing in your health and your life, because it's good for you. It's going to keep you well. It's going to save you, thousands down the road to the cost of healthcare once you're sick. But, what people forget is you aren't what you eat. You are what you absorb. So, so the other thing is, figure out, again, from your body. I mean, I always say, are you even eating? With the things you're eating, are you even digesting? Are you even absorbing those things?
Yeah, I can dig it. All right, man. That's a ton of great information. Like, cool. I'm going to probably rewatch this. I know I will, actually, personally.
Yeah. That's hey, throw questions on me while I'm here, because that's, I want to try to, hopefully, people are, following today. Hopefully I can give them, some things they can kind of apply to their life. Like, I see someone up here, raw vegan's a way to go. Uh-huh. I completely agree with that. The one thing I would just make sure that you do if you're raw and vegan, I work with a lot of vegans who over time develop a lot of digestive issues and bad problems with their gut. So don't forget fat, because you need fat for fuel. If you eat all raw fruits and all raw vegetables, you're only eating carbohydrates, which again, I'm not saying there's a problem with that, but in balance. So yeah, make sure you're also finding good ways to get the right fats in. That's really huge.
I love it. All right, cool. So here's what I'm going to do. This is actually a way that works for this whole little platform. Is I'm going to unlock the seat. So anybody it's out here watching, you guys can call, join in, and they can actually ask you questions directly. If you don't want to be seen, we already got somebody calling quick too. If you don't want to be seen, you can actually turn a video off and the audio will go through. But let me see if this will actually work, because for some reason Blab is having a great morning for me. Hold on, I'm gonna see if I can get you on. I think it's Leticia wants to come on if I pronounced it correctly. And I might echo here in a moment, but hopefully I don't. All right, let's see if she can make her way on. It's weird. I have to open up a new tab to let people on so I can come back here. So it's trying to give her access to call in now. Yes, yeah, echo. I'm sorry, man. This whole Blab thing, it's a phenomenal platform. It's beta. So they're testing everything.
Testing it.
So we're figuring things out as we go. And I think it's not letting Leticia, if you can hopefully let you on. I'm trying to see. It's asking to give her access. So I don't know if it's going to get her on. There's also another seat. So if anybody else wants to try to hop on while she's hopping on, she backed out. If you guys want to call in, just hit the little call in button. It should let you call in. Hopefully it actually works the next time you try it. That would be very beneficial. I don't know how this whole thing it's supposed to let them get in. If not, you guys can ask a question on the side. Oh, Tia saw her? Oh, I didn't see her. Well, that sucks. Oh, someone said they saw her and I didn't even see her. So we'll give like 3 more seconds. If you guys want to call in, call in. If not, I'm going to start giving access to see how people can just like get a hold of you and give you the floor to open up and say, hey, this is how they can contact you. So, we got somebody. Let's see if this works. Let's see if it works. All right, we're going to try this time.
I'm sure there are questions out there. They're just beating the door to try to get in.
It's echo. Am I back on?
Oh, there you are. You lost your back though.
Okay, so if you guys want to try calling in now. I think it might work here. Let's see if this works. Yes, here we go. There we go. Hey, how are you? Margarita, can you hear us? Oh, I can't hear you. Can you hear her?
I can't. Oh, there she is.
There you are.
Yes, I really don't have a question, but I know I've seen people that are actually writing about, I'm a vegetarian, I'm this, I'm that, organic, and so on. I think what you explained clearly defined my eating habits and how I was before and what I became. Sorry, I'm trying to not fall out of my chair.
It's okay.
So like, for example, I had, for everybody that don't know, irritable bowel syndrome for a very long time as a child, and they couldn't understand what it was. And part of it was my diet. I came from a third world country, and trying to, when we came to the United States, here is very heavy with the dairy products and promoting the meats and promoting eat this and you need milk and you need calcium and milk. So that's how.
It's crazy, isn't it? Nuts.
Yes, it's very bad. This is how I developed, this issue. I guess not being able to digest that protein that milk has or cheese has or whatever. Yeah. So, and the media do not talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll share one thing with you. So the reason why that is, and this is really unique. So for years, we can look back, thousands of years, a lot of different, we look back to our ancestors. A lot of people, we grew up on dairy, but you're right. Well, you just mentioned that your body wasn't breaking down the protein. Now, this is one thing that most people do not know. So what's happened as we've changed foods and cows eat things like corn instead of grass, what they do is the milk and the proteins they produce are now toxic than what they used to be hundreds of years ago. So those are things you can test for, but what's happening, what you're getting into, you're talking about how genes are being influenced with animals from what they eat. But what most people don't know, and this is something that a lot of times I task clients with, is a lot of times people don't know what the right diet is for their genetic makeup. Because take Okinawans have the most people live to 100. When Okinawans move to the United States, they die exactly like we do from the same diseases.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yep.
And it's funny because you mentioned the, genetics or whatever, but also I went deeper because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me first. And I started developing other issues like eczema and all these other things that I shouldn't have. And I was able to hit a doctor in New York City. I'm from New York, and I was able to contact somebody that is all about natural medicine. And when my blood work came in, they said that one of my genes mutated. I had like a gene mutation or something to that term, and something about I don't know. Conclusion: they were able to fix me just by the way I eat. So I eliminated meat. So I hide, I do everything with the coconut oil. So like you were mentioning about coconut oil and the proper, how can we blend into our diet? So I'm also like a vegetarian, but I mix a lot of things in my food, and the grains, everything that I use is organic.
Yeah.
And like people, I feel in my heart, people need to do like their blood work and
for sure.
Toxic tests to make sure if they don't have any type of toxins in their blood. Like a lot of people from our culture, and I'm from the Dominican Republic, so a lot of people from our country have a high toxic level of metals.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
the pots that we use to cook in, they're made out of aluminum.
Yeah, aluminum. Yeah. So, let me guess. Did you have your metal levels checked? Like that's one thing we check in our office. Yeah, we check people's metal levels. We check. Yeah, they're. What you're getting into a little bit too which is brilliant is you're talking about epigenetics, which is the process. And what I say this is people should not fear their genes, but the reality is our lifestyle is what pulls the trigger of the genes. So like myself, who took amazingly good care of myself, I ate everything right. Well, again, for me, my nutrition why I got sick, is what you're hitting to. It was the toxic factor. So I'd moved in a house that had mold. The mold triggered an issue in my body, a gene that was for autoimmune. Boom, that gene turns on, and I wind up at 27 with a massive stroke, and no one can explain it. And they say, well, hey, guess what? You can't do anything about it. Just take these blood thinners for the rest of your life. Because you're talking about epigenetics, which again, we're finding today what you're describing, that is what the future of disease will look like, unfortunately, because what you were describing really in a way was kind of like a lot of autoimmune symptoms, things that are rooted in hormones, inflammation, gut, the breakouts on the skin. Those are all definitely, so you're right. You were definitely on the right track. That's awesome.
I love it. It's crazy. There's a ton of questions coming in. And I'm like, I don't even know.
Good.
I don't know how you're going to answer all those.
That's cool. Hey, I'll start going through some of these. So I see one here. They say, hey, have you ever heard of oxidative stress? Absolutely. We test that. Actually, one of the best ways to test oxidative stress is we do urine tests to identify that. So think of oxidative stress as an apple, cutting it open, it turning green. Turning brown. So you can measure oxidative stress at many levels of the body. So absolutely, oxidative stress is a huge thing, and there's a lot of ways you can test for that. I think one thing, that we were talking here is the toxicity is a huge thing. Again, aluminums, leads, mercuries. I've had patients, and this is a huge one, people who take supplements. I take care of a lot of people who are very healthy, vegans, vegetarians. They've done paleo for years. And what I find a lot of times, these people, they have high arsenic levels. So a lot of people use herbs, they use companies that they don't test their herbs. Well, herbs contain high amounts of arsenic. So here are small things where people are like, well, hey, doc, I'm doing the right thing. I'm taking omega-3 supplements and I'm taking herbs. Well, quality matters, I think, more than ever before.
So talk about, if you don't mind, because I don't want to take too much of your time. And
no, go ahead. Do it.
Questions. Oh, yes, there's more questions. I want to answer those. But then you were talking to me about all the tests you guys do. Like, I know there's a lot of them, so I don't know if you have time to go through all of them. But like, what are some of the ones I think most people should take advantage of?
Yeah, one concept I think that, if people were to ask me and they were say, hey, doc, so, I've been to natural practitioners or I've been to medical and natural, like what makes my approach different or the way I look at the body unique? And the first thing I would say is, number one, I always dig for cause. Now, whether that's a deficiency, again, whether that's, a toxic trigger, But I think the other key is, again, too, that everything that we're talking about happens on the level of a cell. Like we're talking on the cellular level. The concept of the cell actually fixing our bodies in the cellular level, that's actually kind of everything that we look at. So a couple testing, I would say the first thing that I love is I like deficiency type testing. So one of the tests that we do is it's called the micronutrient deficiency. So I like measuring people for zinc, calcium, every single mineral of the body, and to figure out what the body is actually deficient in. So fix the deficiencies first. One of my favorite tests is I always like evaluating the gut because of modern grains and toxins. These things destroy our gut lining. So that's something I like to look at. We kind of mentioned heavy metals. For myself, I like testing people for heavy metals and biotoxins. So again, things like mold, other pathogens, those are big ones. Most people today, I think it's important to look at food allergies. A lot of people have them, and I don't think you just need to avoid everything you're allergic to. We need to understand why do you have the allergy, and we need to go ahead and try to fix or address that. The other thing I like to dig for and look is I like to look at neurotransmitter testing. Okay, so many of our neurotransmitters of our body. So before I got sick, there are things like my body was deficient in serotonin, and it's so funny. A lot of people who know me well and my patients are like, Doc, you're like the most positive person I've ever met in my life. They're like, how could you be deficient in serotonin? So my body wasn't making serotonin, but that was actually more of a gut issue than anything else in my body. So, things like neurotransmitters, pathogen testing, hormone testing is really important, and a lot of people do it the wrong way. I like to evaluate hormones through like urine and saliva. But the reason I say this is these are all things that I think they give us an idea of physiology. I like to come in and say, if I can find a physiology that's off, if we don't address it in 10 years, I can probably tell you or be able to tell you what your disease will be. So, I think the new model of healthcare, and I think the new model of most abundant-minded people are going to say, if I can find disease in my body 10 years before I have it, I think people understanding making the investment to fix it now instead of treating the disease down the road, I think that's the future of healthcare, honestly, in my opinion. Yeah.
So how do they get these tests?
How we get these tests. So one thing, I'll do this too. I know there's a lot of people on the channel here, so I'm not sure if I'd be able to service everyone adequately. But one thing I probably would do is for anyone's here, I'll probably give them my maybe my direct link. They can actually schedule like a 10 or 15 minute consult with me, and that way if they have any specific issues, I can kind of sit down with them and kind of at least get free, no charge. I'll just do this to kind of invest in people that are here, on the beta, on your beta testing you're doing today.
Gotcha. So if you do that, put the link in the comment section. This will be recorded. Okay. So anybody that's here will get it. So if you guys are watching this recorded, I apologize, but you won't be able to see that actual link. But they actually want to tell us how they can get a hold of you outside of that would be a good thing as well.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll put that in the link too. So, you can actually go to call. So just call with drbrad.com. And actually that can access that to actually get on a call with me. And, I'll, do a 10, 15 minute consult with you to see if I can just, again, maybe even give you some individual, kind of maybe some feedback with what's going on with you. And maybe just give you, one or two things that can just give you some value for your life right away. Gotcha. You can go to callwithdrbrad.com. That's actually has a link to my schedule. And the other thing, you can also go to my website at drbradgorski.com. So that's DR and then Brad, BRAD, and then Gorski, GORSKI.com. And you can go there.
So anybody that's looking for the comments there.
Where's the comment bar?
It's on the right-hand side if you're on, which is all messages.
Uh-huh.
Do you see that?
I do. I see messages and mentions.
Very, very bottom. So go to messages and scroll to the very bottom. You should see me. And it should say the two you're looking for. You see those?
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Yep. That's it.
Yeah, so it's pretty simple. And I think like this information is invaluable. It's a lot. It's a lot of information, but it's all powerful. It's because at least it sits there and I can start thinking about and doing on how to modify and slowly start changing. I think it's one big thing is I tell people is to slowly add things. So I may change one or two things and start adding on top of it over time.
Yeah, that's one thing, we've really tried to, with my, my practice, you've been in practice over 6.5 years. And I think one thing, that I've really tried to do is I really pride myself as staying on the cutting edge. Yeah. I've constantly, again, taking, I think, the things that have worked for years, but I think also to customizing people's body. So a big thing, like I know, like a lot of my clients, we actually have an online university we've built. So, any of the clients I work with, they actually have an online university to log in. So a lot of these things that we're talking about here, on the show, they can literally log in. I have my month 1, month 2, month 3. I literally walk them through a lot of these protocols. So they have, at their time, at their leisure, they can kind of, get an online university, have access to it. So that's one thing. Yeah. So anyone that works with me, one-on-one, and that's actually something that we actually provide for them, is they have access to a complete, online university. So they have, from recipes to nutrition plans. And the great thing is, once they kind of have those basic protocols, they also have access to calls with me, so we can kind of look through and kind of tweak those things kind of specific to their body. So one thing we also do is we do genetic testing. So, we look at hundreds and hundreds of genes and figure out and try to help customize things that are right for people's body, based on what their genes are telling us. So, those are all, it's really the powerful things, I think, to give people a very customized approach to healthcare, which that's really what's missing today.
So there's a great question. Someone asked, Tia Franklin said, how do we become clients?
How to become clients? The first thing I would say is if they go to the call with Dr. Brad, I will tell you this, I am not an expert in everything. So one of the things I try to do is with that call, I think I try to figure out, again, from many people I work with, I can give them a couple of nutritional things here or there, and man, they'll hit the ground running and they're off to the races. Yeah. Some people, may have more of a physiological breakdown going on in their body. So usually, again, from that your 10 or 15-minute consult, I usually can get a pretty good idea if there's someone I can help with. And again, if it's right to start with some testing with them. And based on that test, what I'll do too is anyone who's on the call with me, I'll kind of go through all the tests that I offer, and again, things that I do and I would recommend, and we'll kind of go through with them. And if they feel like any of those tests are necessary, I can go through them all with them. So I'll definitely do that on that consult for people.
Same to me. Just so you guys know, I did the exact same consult call prior to this call, actually, at one point. And I got a very thorough email with everything you can imagine of what to start working on. Even as far as the gunner glasses, like those, so it's a lot. He's very, very knowledgeable. You might live to be like the oldest human alive. That'd be good.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Where are you based off? Do you have your own clinic or consultation office?
Yeah. So my local office is in Charleston, South Carolina. So that's like where I have 2 different practices I run here, and then also I have a full virtual practice. So, I have clients I take care of in New York City, Washington, D.C. I take care of, people in Ohio. I have a patient I take care of in the UK. So, we're able to, with the online systems we have in our online university, which is really great. We actually have a really great place for people to plug into. And I think one of the things that I'm really able to help people do is, I think, like what Anthony said is, all the information in the world is great, but if you don't understand how to make the right habits to make those changes happen. I'm very big on that. A lot of times I set goals with my clients. We're going to talk about the 5 or 6 habits you need to develop over a course of month 1 to reach the success and results you want. And a lot of times my recommendation is really dictated by what people's goals are. I have people who say, Doc, hey, my goal is how to lose 20 pounds. Those are usually easy goals to achieve if we do the right things. I have other people who are saying, hey, I have like yourself, I have a diagnosis of IBS, or I have a condition I'm on, 3 or 4 medications. Where do I start, or what can I do to, get myself well? Well, those are a little more tough cases, but that's what I try to really help people walk through, help them achieve their goals, because that's really what I'm here to do.
I just want to share that since I started eating right and doing the right thing, I have nothing.
That's awesome.
So I'm as healthy as you can be. I still have the metal, toxic levels a little bit high, of course, because it takes a long time to get rid of in your body. Sometimes, I don't know what all the ways that you guys approach that, to fix that. But
well, I'll put this way.
That I saw.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say So with the metals. So myself. Sometimes it takes me, with different clients, it takes months to detox. I've been through many forms of detox. I think some of the ways that we have today that we're able to actually detox patients from metals specifically, most people, for the most part, once you've been through within 6 months, we see pretty much at least a 50 to 75% reduction in most of the heavy metals. So one thing about detox is detox can be very unsafe. So one of the ways that we kind of promote to do it, it's about being very slow and very safe, and doing it over time is always what gets the best results. The other thing is, with a lot of detox, and if you're doing metal detox, my guests are using things like DMSA. Do you know if you're using DMSA?
No, I didn't start it. Because he told me it's going to take me about 6 months, like you mentioned.
Yeah. I'd be careful.
He mentioned about some sort of a blood cleaning something. I don't know if it was through a machine. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to do it.
Yeah, one thing you have to be really careful with DMSA, and I'm not sure if this may be a little more advanced. If people I see are kind of writing some posts here, like again like cilantro. With metals, what has to happen is metals have to be bound, which means like most people do kind of detoxes that are kind of street cleaners. They push toxins around the body, but what most people don't remember is toxins come out of the human body two ways. One is through urine, and if they're water soluble. The number two way is if they're fat soluble. The liver has to process them. Things and toxins get dumped in your digestive system and your colon. So the problem is for most people when they detox, they don't actually support their gut the right way. So toxins are pulled out, they go to the gut and they get reabsorbed. So yeah, detox always needs to happen in two steps. The one thing I would say about be careful is actually, it was funny. Last night I started my detox and I took DMSA on accident. And I've been really sensitive to that through my years of doing it. So what I would make sure when you're doing your DMSA, on your off cycles, you have to really do high levels of minerals and making sure you're mineralizing your body, or else you'll create deficiencies. So yeah, you have to definitely be careful with that.
You're like a body ninja, bro. Like this is too much in your head. We need to pull everything out.
Man, I tell you what, I suffered for what I learned. I always say that, I did a lot of great things, but I also did a lot of great things the wrong way. Because when I got sick, it was like, I knew about toxins. It wasn't like I was uneducated about those things, but, I think the other thing is we also, as time develops, we learn better ways to do things, safer ways to do things. Yeah. And, again, the key is long-term sustainability. And that's one thing I like to preach is that a lot of people do things that are so tough, they're so erect, they can't sustain them. So they do things and they get kind of short-term results, and they find out when I'm falling off the track because no one ever taught them the right habits and the long things to get long-term results.
Gotcha.
That's key.
I like it. I like how to be honest, you use a lot of it's high level information, but you've got a knack to be able to make it I can understand it, if that makes sense.
There you go.
Very good.
Yeah. It was funny. The doctor I met with this morning, and he was asking me some questions with a family member of his, and he's a friend of mine, and we were talking. He goes, he's like, so how? He's like, he's like, I understand some of the protocols you use, but he's like, man, I'm having a hard time people aren't following through with that. And it was funny. I was telling him, I'm like, well, that's part of the art, I think, to get people to make changes. It's not about, doing something very crazy and hard. It's about understanding a foundation. And I would say it's like once you build a foundation, and then we can put a tool on top of the foundation, and then we can put another tool on top of that. That's how people's life change. Yeah. I would say it's not one protocol I give people, but when I give you the 20 or 30 protocols that you have to do to change your life, when you can actually learn how to apply and stack those things on top of each other, that's where the energy goes through the roof, the weight loss, the digestive issues stop, the hormones balance. That's where the transformation happens.
Love it. Cool. I like it. All right. So this is what I'll tell everybody. If you guys are following now or watching now, call with drbrad.com or drbradgorski.com. He's going to let you guys talk to him for 15 minutes and get some more individualized information so you guys can actually find out what the next levels for yourself could be. Yeah. So make sure you guys go there. Margarita, I'm going to go ahead and hang up on you. Is that okay? Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much for asking those. Yeah, thank you so much for asking those questions, and that was amazing. So you've done some great things. It sounds like, which is awesome. So a lot of those things you've been down. That's what I call as a future of healthcare, because people have to address those things today to get well. It's 100%. Yeah, so awesome. Great job. Keep up the good work too.
Thank you guys.
All
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Take care.
Bye, Anthony.
Bye.
Bye.
So we that's pretty much it. So I always have one question at the end. There's always it's random one, and it's kind of one that I come up with. So, or not what I come up with, but this would be a good one I think for you. Would you rather be famous when you're alive and forgotten when you die, or unknown when you were alive but famous after you die?
I would answer that with whatever makes the biggest impact on the world.
Ooh, you answered the question. The statement that's convoluted. Hey, I'll take it. Hey, it's your question. Yeah. You do whatever you want. I like it. All right, cool. So that's pretty much it. I don't know if you have any questions for me, or I don't know how that works.
I don't know, man. Well, hey, I know. Let me ask. I see a couple questions. Is that okay if I answer those?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So what DMSA is DMSA is what's actually called. It's a chelating supplement. So basically, what it does is it's like a magnet. So it pulls metals out of the human body. Okay. So just a quick note on that. DMSA. Although technically it's considered non-toxic, you have to be very careful with that. I have many people get sick from DMSA. Myself, like I said, I took it on accident last night. I thought it was a different supplement, and my whole face kind of broke out and it was kind of red because I get sensitive to it. So, but DMSA a lot of time is used for detoxing the body. But again, do not use that. I would recommend make sure you actually get a hold of a practitioner who knows how to use that. And just so you know, and that's something usually you have to kind of prepare your body for a couple months before you can even experiment with. So again, I'm not saying use DMSA. You definitely want to make sure you're using it with, I think, someone who not only is educated on it, but also I would use it themselves, because again, people can respond very differently to that. So that's what DMSA is. I do see, do you accept insurance? And the answer to that is yes. I work with all insurances. Sometimes some of the labs I do, sometimes they are actually covered by insurance. Obviously, that's a very tough topic because everyone's insurance is so different. But yes, we some of our clients do have insurance, and sometimes some of the testing is covered from insurance. Let me see if there's any other questions I missed here. Great. Let's see. Someone saying here, I have allergies partly to dust and mildew. A quick note on that. Most of the time when you're kind of allergic to things or you're responding to things, that's a sign of autoimmune. So, when your body's reacting to dust and mildew, it's usually a sign of autoimmune. So the first thing I would say is look at strengthening your gut. Your business might really explode after this interview. Thank you for saying that. Honestly, I have 3 practices I take care of right now. So if you guys do actually get a call with Dr. Brad and you guys make an appointment, just please be patient with me. I may have to move some of you depending on how many calls I get from that. But I will definitely do my best in the next couple weeks to get with you. So again, I'll try to work with you as best as possible. So, but I do appreciate that.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, he's actually a good human being. He's explained. I think people can probably sense that, but just you're this guy when we first met, just off the cuff, just random. You're a good human being, so I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate you saying that. So yeah, I try to be real transparent. I mean, I say the reason I feel like I'm an expert in some of this, and yeah, I learned and I suffered from what I went through, and I thank God for that experience. I think that I was part of my calling and part of my purpose. Yeah. I know it's kind of cool. We were talking, the fact that you were adopted, I was adopted. I've always looked at those things as great opportunities. I mean, I think I would never take that back. It's kind of molded me into who I am, and I would say if I would go back at the age of 27 and would I choose to go through what I went through, I would say absolutely yes. Yeah. Because it definitely gave me an education I could never paid for. I'll tell you that much.
Very, very
so I think I have 2 more questions at the back here. Right. Do you know? Good to know on DMSA. Yes. Be careful with that. I'd recommend don't use it. Again, you have to really work with a seasoned practitioner who knows to use it the right way. Even today, for a lot of my clients, I don't even use that anymore. So we have some better ways to do that. It's just very tough on the body. Again, I think with anything, I try to do things as natural and safe as possible. So, but yeah, just a note on the DMSA, because I know a lot of natural practitioners use them, and a lot of times I've seen it used the wrong way. So,
cool. Yeah, another successful blast.
Nice.
This might have been the most actively engaged that I've had so far, man. I like it.
Hey, bring me back. We'll hit who knows? Maybe if I get a bunch of specific questions on something specific, I'll come back and then we'll blow something else up.
Honestly, you're more welcome to come back, man. I'm sure that we could find stuff to talk about for the next 7 days easily straight without break.
No, cool. Absolutely.
All right, cool. So. All right, then that's going to be essentially it. I'm going to go ahead and say thank you again. Truly, appreciate you coming on, because I know you are a busy man. So being able to get this time with you has been paramount. And I wanted to get you on because it followed through. I knew you'd be beneficial to the people that follow me that can actually get some of this information. So thank you, thank you. Anybody else?
Hey, thanks for having me too. So I see I got one question here. I see. Is this a good heavy metal detox to use? Let me click on this. Did I just lose you?
No, you're still here.
Okay, cool. I just she just sent me someone just posted a website. I'm looking at it right now.
That's Nature Sunshine.
Let me see the ingredients here.
We're getting some on the spot work. I like it.
Yeah. Okay. So there are a couple of things I like that are in here. So I see the use of what's called ALA, which is alpha lipoic acid. I see cilantro. So the only thing that I don't see here. Nothing that is in those ingredients. I'm not saying that it's bad. But I think if we're actually looking specifically to actually pull toxins from the body, we need something that's called a true binder. So I don't know much about that product. I'd have to do some more research on it. My first takeaway would be my guess is it may not actually really truly actually bind to metal, so it can be taken out of the body. So I would honestly probably stay away from that. I also like to make sure a lot of the labs that I use and companies I use for supplements, I make sure they test their supplements. I make sure if they use herbs, they're bioavailable. Have they been tested to make sure they're alive and not dead? Just maybe a quick thing on that. But I would say maybe stay away from that. I would not maybe necessarily suggest that.
Gotcha. Cool.
Awesome,
right,
man.
So I'm gonna go ahead and close it up. Anybody needs to get a hold of you guys again, you can reach out to him at drbradgorski.com or call with drbrad.com. He'll hop on the phone with you like he did with me and give you guys some great information. Outside of that, man, I'm going to go ahead and tell you to have a phenomenal rest of your day. And thank you again for joining us.
Will do, man. Hey, we can end with this. I love this. This is, I spoke last night. I told you what I love this quote. It says, it's from Tony Robbins, but he says, the moments of our destiny are shaped in the moments of our decisions. Mm-hmm. Choose now and choose well. So make it a great day.
I like it. Great one to end on. Cool.
Cool, man. Awesome. We'll see you, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem.